Maybe the idea is that the philosophy is what's important right now, that Beethoven's ideal, that especially right now, I mean, for me, coming from the United States and, you know, anticipating this presidential election, you know, we really need a perspective of unity and tolerance, because we've just lost that. And so maybe it's important that Beethoven become a leader again, and that he takes us to a place with more light than where we are now.
Hi, Dominik. Hi.
Hello, Barbara.
Hello. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having us here and opening your doors and hotel. And so people tell me that you're the famous Ludwig vom Beethoven.
Yeah, my family name is Ludwig. I'm so the famous Mrs. Ludwig from the Beethoven. And my family, we bought the hotel 10 years ago, and the last 10 years I've been renovating all the floors and guest rooms, and now we have all the floors are dedicated to a Viennese theme, and each room is dedicated to a Viennese personality. One floor is dedicated to our neighbor, the Opera House Theater in the Wien, where Beethoven composed his famous Fidelio. One floor is dedicated to Secession. This is our neighbor on the other side. One floor is dedicated to Beethoven and his other Biedermeier composers. We have the coffee house literati who used to stay in these coffee houses around here, and strong women of the Viennese siècle. And then I have Vienna of Love and Desire.
Facettes of basically our host Beethoven, the theme giver, and therefore it's nice to have a variety of different guests who brings us or with them different perspectives on the personality and on his work. So right next to me I have a great curator who is these days very, very busy. Yesterday, you opened your exhibition, which is most likely the biggest exhibition in quite the next miles here, or maybe in Middle Europe of Beethoven, basically. And I know this is busy days and busy times, and you also have to leave soon to go on. So especially thank you for making time in the most busy days of this year.
Absolute pleasure.
So Jasper Sharp in the house. And we'll have a few words with him, which is great. Then one room or one floor down, I say hello and greet Martin Haselböck. Martin Haselböck, you see me, you hear me. In the back, you have the beautiful, you see the Theater an der Wien, and you see it's filled with people. So we play with different imageries of former times. And his work is also very much about former times. He has got future project, but also what he does in his Resound project, he went to play all symphonies in the historical places where Beethoven used to originally perform his Uraufführungen of his symphonies. So that's a beautiful flat. Hello, Martin, can you hear me? Great. And then with the next flow is we have Lina and Mara, Lina Fankhauser and Mara Kronig-Achleitner, which it's a great duo. Both of them play in numerous different versions and numerous different musical settings. And so their work is also from very contemporary art to classic projects, from orchestra to soloists and duos. Lena and Mara, can you hear me? We are on. That's wonderful. And then if we go on, we see Paul Schweinester, Theresa Dax. I see them in a room. It's, I think, one stair. No, I think we're on the same floor, basically. So maybe we're singing loud later.
Right.
That's perfect. You soprano and Paul.
No, I'm not a soprano. I'm not a soprano.
One of you is a soprano.
Must be me.
And one of you is the tenor then.
Yeah, I would rather be a tenor.
That is also a nice way of exactly originating. So basically we have a variety of different floors. And then what you see, the piano and the cello, that's Michael Babbage, and you hear wonderful. And Pavel Kovnov now they're playing. So this is the duo that you might, if you check into their websites, you can see when they will perform. But I mean, if you occasionally just happen to enter spontaneously the Hotel Beethoven, you might have the luck to see them perform. So we will receive pieces and experiences from all of these different rooms. So this was a short, basically, introduction. And we welcome the people from BOZAR, which is tonight's opening for their exhibition. The live stream will be cut into a video and into a setting that will be part of the exhibition. So we try to say, and we have 90 minutes and 15 minutes of what we talk would be great if this is really like special, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, Jasper, thanks for being here, for taking your time.
Sure.
And it's a spontaneous setting into different rooms with different people. Just to enter a conversation, basically my the biggest question is just, or no, the wish is just to enter your view that you in the last years made out of what you experienced as whenever, or even before you started working on creating and the narrative for a great exhibition. And then also maybe just at some point just to tell what a composer who lived at the turn of the 18th and 19th century, what could be the interest in the contemporary eyes in you create contemporary positions all over the world. How did you connect, you guys?
So I'm one of 4 curators of this exhibition that's just opening at the Kunsthistorisches Museum, and we were asked to curate an exhibition to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Beethoven. That was the end of the brief, an exhibition. And we thought for a long time, and we decided very quickly what we did not want to do, which was to tell the story of his life. Because you can read a book, you can go onto the internet, or you could go to Bonn, where he was born, where they did an exhibition about his whole life. So that kind of freed us up to do something a little more experimental. And we began by asking ourselves, what does Beethoven mean to us? And when I began this project 18 months ago, so it's had a very quick birth, this project. Normally these shows take 3 or 4 years. This is a year and a half. I knew as much about Beethoven as a relatively cultured person on the street, but not a huge amount. Fortunately, 2 of my colleagues in the team are experts, but I was almost representing the person that doesn't know a lot about Beethoven, which is a useful thing to have in a project, always. I sort of, not even a semi-expert, a sort of a basic beginner. So I was representing the normal person, and what we all asked ourselves, what does Beethoven mean to us? And after long discussions and lots of lunches, we came down basically to one thing, which was emotion. And I'm clutching the little booklet from our show, and it says Beethoven excites, inspires, touches, overwhelms, provokes, amazes, moves. And the title of the show is Beethoven Moves. And we've constructed it almost as a series of tableaux. It's unashamedly emotional. It's really an attempt to grasp in visual terms with objects what one might feel when one listens to the music of Beethoven. So it has moments of enormous exaltation and optimism and light and joyousness. It has moments of explosion because, you know, he was a genius, but he was pretty irascible and he could fly off the handle sometimes. It has moments of darkness. It has moments of deathly silence. It deals with his extraordinary physical impediment, not being able to hear, but it deals with it in a very oblique way. We learned that when his final Sterbewohnung, the house where he died, when it was pulled down, they saved the floor, the parquet floor of the room in which he died. And we knew it was somewhere in Vienna. And we found it piled up in deep storage of a museum with all the individual parquet tiles nailed to each other in piles. And we unnailed them, had them restored. And in one of the galleries, we've laid the floor from the room in which he died as a completely empty floor on a pedestal, like a stage. Mm-hmm. And it's a very dark room. And it's accompanied by some etchings of Goya, the great Spanish master who lived at the same time and was also deaf. And it's a room about basically silence. So we've attempted to tell the story. It's almost like different movements of a symphony, the way the exhibition's constructed. And what's really beautiful is we had the chance to commission some new contemporary artworks about Beethoven, responses to Beethoven today, now, 250 years later. And the final gallery of the exhibition is one of my heroes, a young artist called Tino Segal. He studied economics and dance, which I think is the greatest combination of things to study you could ever possibly do. He won the Golden Lion at Venice at the Biennale. He's one of the most famous artists working today. And we called him and said, we would like you to commission a new work about Beethoven. Beethoven himself lived through commissions. So we've continued that tradition, a Habsburgian institution commissioning a young artist. He's a performance artist. He creates artworks with people who sing and talk and move and speak. And he has rearranged 6 of the most wonderful pieces of music by Beethoven for the human voice. Symphonies, piano sonatas, string quartets that are not intended to be sung. And he's worked with special singers and dancers. And for every minute of every hour of every day of our exhibition till the 26th of January, it will be performed live within the galleries of the museum. And for every piece of the 6 different pieces of music, a different part of the body dances. One is just for the hands, one is just for the face, one is for the shoulders. And with the 9th symphony, the entire body starts going. And it's absolutely mesmerizing. And you walk into one of the most traditional museums you could hope to visit in the world. And there is a completely empty gallery at the end of the exhibition with someone dressed just like you and I, unannounced, singing Beethoven from the depths of their soul. And I was in there last night with about 30 people, and every single person had goosebumps. And people were in tears. And it was really testimony to this amazing legacy that we've been left by this chap, that now still channeled through all sorts of different things, and then eventually a single human voice, it's still evoking massively raw emotion in people. Now, that's not a surprise because people see Beethoven every night of the week, somewhere in the world. Mm. But for me, it's been enormous. I once read that, I think a wonderful woman called Elisa Benedetti once said, music is the gift from the depth of one person's soul to another. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, but it's one of the most amazing gifts you can give to another person. And I've always had that quotation in my head, and I properly understood it for the first time when I saw this new piece in the museum. So we're in a very sort of emotional state with this project at the moment, as you can probably tell, but it's been amazing. And I hope everyone will come and see it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jasper. Beautiful emotional words, and makes or brings up excitement, definitely. And also new perspective in perceiving the personality, obviously. So that's already, I think, yeah, more than just a trailer. I've been just somehow, I felt already, emotionally I was already guided through the rooms and halls of your beautiful museum. There's a call. Anyway, but just personally, what was your emotional experience and into creating that exhibition?
I think one of the things that's been most interesting in putting the exhibition together is also how much you rely on other people.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's something that you know we have in common with all of these wonderful musicians who are here with us this evening. There are moments when I curate in a solo format. And this is the first time I've ever done something with a group of people, curated a show with other people. And it's very similar to some of these guys who have moments where they stand in the spotlight on their own, and they have other moments where they're, you know, part of an ensemble. And it's a completely different set of skills that are asked of you. So that's one of the things I've taken away from this project is how to compromise, how to dovetail very well with the skills of other people. So just from a professional point of view, it's been extremely helpful for me. And to have this figure of Beethoven, what he's never allowed us to do is to kind of actually really compromise on anything. It's the riskiest, I would say it's the most radical exhibition you will ever see at the Kunsthistorisches, probably for a long time to come. And it's his radicality still now that obliged us to do that, yeah, to never compromise. Because he didn't. You know.
He didn't. No, that's. I think that's something that we can take also as a, let's say, as an invitation to life itself, or to live our life, especially in these times that we're going through. So yeah, thank you, Jasper. It was great that you appeared in exactly. It was also. I don't know if it was a compromise or not compromise, but anyway, it started at least as a compromise because I mean you've been busy and called in exactly in very moments of basically I don't know stress, but anyway intensity, let's say it this way, and you made it here, and I appreciate it a lot. So it was great. Jasper Sharp in Hotel Beethoven, and so thank you for being part of it and giving a views on your perspective, basically as a very renowned and interesting and exciting curator in Vienna, but also internationally. So let us move basically one floor up. There is a room called Berta Zuckerkandel, who was quite also an important figure in the Viennese scenes. And there we have Lina Fankhauser and Mara Kronig-Achleitner talking viola and cello. Mara and Lina, can you hear me? I think they can hear me.
Now we can talk also.
I like that. That is beautiful. Great that you can talk. Just a very simple approach and a very easy move into your rooms. You prepared obviously some piece of Beethoven's oeuvre. What will you play for us, and why would you play? And then maybe any add-on, a personal emotional quote if you want.
Nice to see you and hear you, Dominik, and see everyone else as well. You know, Dominik, good friend of mine and colleague. We've done so many projects together and so many various collaborations. And you gave me a call and said, would you like to be part of this project? What piece would be of interest? So, well, how big is the room? As you see, we don't have much space, and Beethoven didn't write a whole lot for viola and cello. Therefore, I brought my colleague Mara Ackleitner with me, and we will play it's so-called Eyeglasses Duo, in German mit zwei obligaten Außengläser, from Beethoven, and in this beautiful, tiny but lovely space.
Right on, beautiful.
Should we just check 2 notes and make sure you can, the mic is fine?
Sounds good.
Good.
Thank you, Lina Fankhauser, Mara Leitner. Thank you in Berta Zuckerkannel's room of the Hotel Beethoven in Vienna. That was a nice introduction to the eyeglass duo. Something I didn't, this particular piece I didn't know before. And maybe there is, later you can come and finalize the view on why it's been the choice. You told before, but maybe there's also a personal story to this. So from Berta Zuckerkannel's room, we move on, and it's a Theater an der Wien room, and we have a prestigious Martin Haselböck, a conductor, who has, apart from his many, many projects, there's one particular project that might be interesting to be presented tonight. Hello, Martin.
Hello.
Normally, you face the audience that you have behind you.
Yeah.
This year, everything is turned the upside down, basically, or the other way. And even if you match an audience like this, it would be kind of bizarre and maybe even illegal.
Yeah.
Nowadays. So just thank you for your time and finding this wonderful place and spot here and sharing it as well. Maybe you can give us a short history on the idea of your project, if we're talking about the resound, or any particular connections that brought you into Beethoven and creating projects that you continue to perform for years.
Sure. It's a great pleasure to be here to talk about this. Jasper was talking about emotions, and our Resound Beethoven project probably is pure emotion as well. We are surrounded by history around, and my orchestra is a period instrument orchestra. We play on the instruments which were used at the time of Beethoven by the composers and so on, but we play in the Golden Hall of the Musikvereine Hall, which was built about 50 years, 60 years after the death of Beethoven. So we thought, where are the places where he played, where he performed, and how were the concerts? Concerts were a totally different affair from our little bit stiff things where you sit down and you dress up. Concerts were a little bit like rock concerts. People came and were standing. Beethoven tried to make as much noise as possible with his music. This was music before the time of amplification. So he added musicians, he invented new ideas for musical instruments. And we went to these halls. The halls are either palaces of the nobility, the Lobkowitz Palace, or they're in some ways, they were restaurant halls, or we performed the 9th Beethoven Symphony in the hall where right now the parliament is having the seats. And without Corona, we would have even played it in the actual stalls of the parliament. So it's, I think it's a discovery, a journey of discovery. And since Beethoven didn't travel very much anymore, all this music was played here. And then is another thing about instruments. We recorded the complete symphonies. We recorded the music for Egmont with narration. The English narration was done by our friend John Malkovich, who acted as a narrator here. The German by Herbert Föttinger, Theater and the Josefstadt director. And then we recorded all the piano concertos. And if you have a modern piano right now, you have two kinds of sounds. You have Steinway or you have Bösendorfer. At the time of Beethoven, you had 100 piano builders in Vienna. And he had his pianos designed just especially for him. And there are some pianos which he actually played. And when you sit down and you touch the keys and you think on these keys, the master has played as well, then it's so emotional that you have your goosebumps as a musician, because you know exactly this is pure emotion. And so we recorded the 5 piano concertos, finally 6 piano concertos on the instruments which he played. We recorded it in the halls. One thing we discovered, for sure, we are modern musicians, and for sure we feel different, but the discovery that music is sound, and you can approach the sound and you can get closer to the sound. You know how many musicians were sitting in the theater in the Wien, for instance, were recorded as well. How many musicians were sitting here? How many people played? What did he want from the players? So this past music making is extremely well documented. And for sure, this music is so strong that you can play it, you can whistle it, you can play it on any instrument. It always will be super. But for me as a musician, it's the discovery, the research, the looking for the actual sound which he had in mind when he wrote this music. And I think we got a bit closer to this discovery. And so this was a long journey, which was interrupted by Corona. We got stopped before we could do the big tours. I think we lost 52 concerts with our orchestra, South America, North America, China, whatever. But still, we discovered a new identity of this music. And for us as an orchestra, for us as musicians, this is a huge gift. And I'm very grateful not only to my musicians, but also to the city of Vienna, which has so many hidden places which can add some surprise to us. And I'm sure that the exhibit in the Kunsthistorische will give a totally new view to all this music, because for sure Beethoven was more than just a musician. He was a philosopher, he was a politician, and his messages in these special times are more important than ever in some ways. But our project was to go back to the past to find something which is innovative for our present time. And I think we got quite close to find it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. That's a beautiful, also beautiful channeling. And I can kind of feel emotion of the sound. Just one last quick question. like the body of sound that you create with the old instruments, basically, that you find, that you collect in the old places. If you differentiate this, all this work and the path of this work, what is your feeling and in the procedure when you actually perform it? I mean, do you feel like how close do you come to the idea or your personal idea of Beethoven and also the way that you maybe what you wanted to perceive and to achieve?
Yeah, one big surprise for me was that we live in a time where all sounds can be amplified. We have lost the relation to actual sound, because for us, you just turn a switch and the sound which an instrument makes can be amplified 10 times, 20 times. We are living in a loud world. This was a soft world where maybe the pipe organ was the loudest musical instrument. And my surprise was sitting in this horse. Beethoven's attempt was to smash you right into your face with his music. And I never have played louder music on our instruments than in this original horse. You sit in one of these horses and you shiver. You feel the music in your stomach if you've seen the Lobkowitz, because there you have it's in some ways it's a luxury situation. The Count Lobkowitz paid for having a big orchestra in his small living room. And when you sit in there, it's like a rock concert. You feel the music in your skin, under your skin, in your stomach. Yeah, and this is super fascinating. And maybe we live in a time where we are tired of always the same, always the repetition of the same pieces. And I heard, why do you play the same stuff over and over again? I think there are two trends. You can find novelty if you really search, even in the well-known. Yeah, so you can discover in a piece like da-da-da-dam, you can discover that it can be totally different, totally new, without changing it. Yeah, and in the music, I think our search must be to find the unusual, to find the diversity, to find the not so well-known, because otherwise, as musicians, we would be lost, because we would repeat and repeat, and repetition is the death of every art in some ways. Yeah. So even using music which was written 200 years ago, and for us, Beethoven is different. It's different from Mozart and Haydn and Schubert, because you still have the feeling the music is so direct, is so fresh, as if you would hear it for the first time with some pieces. And with all these centennials, you feel sometimes that some music was killed by playing over and over again. We have this famous saying of Benjamin that art is not the same in the time of repetition. Yeah, but Beethoven is stronger than the repetition. So I think our idea of looking for variety in the well-known is a message, and it's a message for musicians and for the listener, I think. Yeah?
I have something funny to add to what you just said. You talked about the punch in the stomach and the being brought to tears. I mentioned that last night there was a gentleman standing in the last room of our exhibition who actually started crying. And his name was William Lobkowitz.
Oh, sure.
And he is, the great grandson of the Count who commissioned Beethoven. So it's funny how these things, it almost kind of closed a circle somehow.
And your story with the floor, yeah. The funny thing is that the floor is not complete, because a little part of the floor was exchanged with Bonn to get some of the hearing aid from Melzel.
And we're missing a few corners.
They're in Bonn right now. And the funny thing was that Beethoven was so modernist in some ways. He had, by the same Melzel who built his hearing aid, he had an automatic trumpet machine built. And we reconstructed this trumpet machine. So his art is open to technicians and to everything. And for sure, Lobkowitz, he went bankrupt on Beethoven in some ways. He lost all his money on him, but he still died as a happy man, as far as we know, because he had given it to the arts. This is another sign for today's world. Give your money for the arts, for the development. But I'm really looking forward to see the exhibit, and I will see it in fact tomorrow. And it's a great combination to have today's world with the past world, which is not past because this music is never past. It's still today here. Yeah.
Excuse myself.
Thank you, Martin Haselberg. Thank you, Jasper Sharp. We move and drive now into the foyer of the Hotel Beethoven, and we welcome Pavel Kapnov on piano, and we have Michael Babic on cello, and they will tell us what they present now, which is quite interesting.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beethoven in Hotel Beethoven Vienna. My name is Michael Babic, and tonight I would like to perform for you with my dearest colleague Pavel Krajnov on the piano a piece by Ludwig van Beethoven. There will be his 12th variation on a theme by Mozart out of his famous opera, The Magic Flute. So now, enjoy Beethoven.
Beethoven himself, he drank a lot. He had an alcohol problem. It's not so sure if he had really an alcohol addiction, but he drank regularly in high dosages and unfortunately in a bad quality. Because at this time, and that's a quite difference to today, the wine in Vienna was horrible. So it was today we have marvelous wine, but this time, and it was a very sour wine, and this this kind of taste, the producers tried to cope with an addition of lead, which makes it a bit more sweet. And he drank this wine, and there are some hair analysis which you can do from his hair, and you see the lead concentration over time. So he was in Vienna, he had a very high lead concentration. Then he went to the Wachau for some reason, for some treatment, etc. To the house of the brother in Lexendorf, and at this time you have a significant decrease of the lead concentration. Then he came back to Vienna and drank the Viennese wine. Then he had another peak of it. And there's a theory that this poisoning with lead was one of the factors why he died. He had also pneumonia in the end. That was the way back from Wachau to Vienna. He suffered from a pneumonia, and he had marked liver damage because of drinking, and that's not quite clear, but there are some rumors about it that he was also suffering from a hepatitis in former times, and so he drank on a not so good functioning, well-functioning liver, and in the end he died on a liver cirrhosis. So that was the end of him. So alcohol played a major role, and the real problem of alcohol is that if you take alcohol regularly, daily, and in a high dosage, it increases depressions. So it's a substance which deepens the depression and also prolongs depression, and that's a very bad thing, because for the moment you feel better because the tensions, the anxiety, and all this kind of things they go away by alcohol, but you increase the primary disorder, and that is why Beethoven suffered from depression and from alcohol problems.
Jetzt im Anschluss ein schönes und ich würde vorstellen, das wird unser Museum Special hinzu. Ja, das fällt mir jetzt komplett. Also alles, was du jetzt gesagt hast, ist nicht drauf, da ist schon Video drin. Okay, super. Dann wann Sie, ich schaue jetzt nur noch auf die Kamera.
Ich war bei Kloen ganz allein und küssen wollte ich sie. Und küssen wollte ich sie. Jedoch sie sprach, sie würde schreien, sie würde schreien, sie würde schreien, sie würde schreien. Es sei vergebne Müh, es sei vergebne Müh. Ich wagte es doch und küsste sie, trotz ihrer Gegend, trotz ihrer Gegend her. Und schrie sie nicht, Jawohl, sie schrie, doch, doch lange hinterher. Doch, ja doch lange hinterher. Sie schrie doch lange, 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 lange hinterher, ja lange, lange hinterher.
Are we on? Okay. Yeah, thank you. This was, there were two performances now. One was Professor Dr. Musalek. He's the director of the Institute of the Social Aesthetics in Vienna for the Sigmund Freud University, and also the director of the Anton Bocksch Institute. So he gave us a view on his perspective and his work as a psychiatrist, and followed by the Kuss, a song sung by Paul Schweinester. And we enter now Paul from the foyer into one of his rooms.
Jetzt sind wir allein, wir können vertraulich plaudern. Es wird ja nichts Wichtiges sein, ich darf bei der Arbeit nicht zaudern. Ein Wörtchen und trotzige Du. So sprich nun, ich höre ja zu, ich höre ja zu, ich höre ja zu. Wenn du mir nicht freundlicher blickest, so bring ich kein Wörtchen hervor. Wenn du dich nicht in mich schickest, verstopf ich mir vollends das Ohr. So hab ich den Blick und mir Ruhe, so rede nun zu. Ich habe zum Weib dich gewählt, verstehst du? Das ist ja doch klar. Und wenn mir dein Ja-Wort nicht fehlt, was meinst du? So sind wir ein Paar. Wir könnten in wenigen Wochen. Recht schön, du bestimmst schon die Zeit, du bestimmst schon die Zeit. Wir könnten in wenigen Wochen, du bestimmst schon die Zeit. In wenigen Wochen, du bestimmst schon die Zeit. Zum Henker das ewige Buch, endlich befreit ich so hört ich wieder und immer entwischt mir Fahrt und immer entwischt mir Fahrt und immer entwischt mir Fahrt. Ich weiß, dass der Arme sich gewählt. Es tut mir so leid, auch um ihn. Fidelio hab ich gewählt. Wo war ich? Sie sieht mich nicht an. Da ist er fängt wieder an. Wann wirst du das Ja-Wort mir geben? Es könnte ja heute noch sein. Auf wen verbettet mein Leben jetzt, morgen und immer, nein, nein, und immer, nein, 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 nein. Du bist so wahrhaftig und klein. Du bist so wahrhaftig und klein. Kein Wünschen, kein Beten, kein Beten, kein Beten. Ich muss ja so hart mit ihm sein, hofft bei dem mindesten Schein. So wirst du dich nimmer bekehren. Was meinst du? Du könntest nun gehen. Wie? Dich anzusehen, willst du mir fehlen. Auch das noch, so bleibe das noch. Du hast mir so oft noch versprochen. Versprochen? Nein, das geht zu weit, das geht zu weit, das geht zu weit. Du hast mir so oft versprochen. Das geht zu weit. Nein, das geht zu weit. Zum Henker das ewige Hoffen, zum Henker. Das war im Ernste schon wahr. Im Ernste schon wahr. Es war dir im Ernste schon wahr. Wer weiß, ob es mir nicht gelang. Wer weiß, ob es mir nicht gelang. Wer weiß, ob es mir nicht gelang. Wer weiß, ob es mir nicht gelang.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Do we speak in English?
We do. Please do speak in English. Hello, Paul. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Teresa.
Hello, Dominik. Kind of from cheek to cheek, from 504 to 506.
I would say so. Exactly. That's pretty close. And exactly, I could hear everything. So in the end, yes. Now that we see the scenery and we heard parts of Fidelio, maybe you could tell us from the works and your work and your experiences what made you choose that particular piece, and how did you think, or what was the story of also bringing it into scenery?
The reason why I choose the duet out of Fidelio is because it is only opera that he ever composed. So there is basically not so much if you want to do something scenic-wise. So with the scene, you have this one piece. And there is Teresa, a wonderful soprano that I always had in mind to sing with. And then there is this only one duet out of this opera that we could do. So to choose a piece wasn't that hard. And additionally to that, he just wrote this one opera, but he rewrote it 4 times. So as you maybe heard, there are a lot of repetitions. It's very complicated and a complex piece. You have to remember the words very well, and even the repetitions of the notes are a bit weird. Maybe that also explains why he is not the opera composer of his time per se, you know? So he's basically more known for his orchestral symphonic works, but his vocal works are brilliant and good, obviously. But why we chose this duet out of Fidelio is also to connect it with the songs that you're going to hear tonight as well. Because nowadays, if you want to play these songs, it's hard to play them honestly, because it's about kind of a raping, and it's about abuse, and with Me Too and all this stuff. I asked Teresa, how do you see the situation, and are you willing to kill me in the end to have a legitimation to play the kiss that is also about forcing somebody to kiss, and then duetto where somebody wants to marry and he even does it with power and with force.
And I was on board the moment he told me that there is going to be a strong woman, refusing and struggling back.
Yeah, and for me, the beautiful bathtub was thanks to the Hotel Beethoven to be taking a bath in this beautiful bathtub in this golden room. Yeah, that's kind of the story, the dramatical reason why we chose these 2 pieces that you heard so far. And there's for the soul and for my at least positive picture to the outside, there is coming something more later on.
Nice one. So last question to Teresa and you, Paul. So in because both of you perform in a variety of different operas and different operettas. Anyway, taking on different roles. Is there anything is what I heard before that you said? I mean, like his I don't know, his core business, basically, where the symphony is. If you enter suddenly into the mindset of Fidelio, Leonore, whatever, and you enter those roles, is there anything different in the grammar of the musical grammar, basically, compared to other operas? Is there something special, funky, weird, or how was the feeling? Just in a very few words, and then we get into the next rooms.
You said it already.
You don't have to answer if you know.
No, I can say something. I just don't want to be too impulsive all the time. But I think it's a very loud and silent music. It has very high climax. So it's very loud, very, you have these forte pianos, you smash it into the piano. That's what Martin Hasensberg said before. He's very strong. And with the words, it's a weird language. It was written by a lawyer in I don't forget the year when it was composed, but it was written, the words, by a lawyer. And you can hear that it's kind of, sorry to all the lawyers out there, but it's kind of, it's a bit, it's hard, it's not so easy, it's also hard to remember. But there are these genius moments, really genius moments, especially the quartet a bit later on. It's one of the most beautiful opera moments. And these one-hit wonders make this opera as well to what it is, But there are many beautiful moments, but let's say it's kind of, sometimes it's a bit strange. It's strange. That's why he rewrote it 4 times. And it's also it's Beethoven thinks very instrumental. So when he writes for voices, sometimes he really is demanding as what he would want to hear from an instrument. And that's hard for singers sometimes.
But also makes it interesting. I like that challenge as well.
But we do solo repertoire, that's hard. But if you would sing choir repertoire, that's even tough for the sopranos and for the tenors, because he really breaks up the whole score and he makes it really wide. That's also, again, back to Martin Hasberg, loud and wild.
And exposed.
And exposed, yeah. Mm-hmm. He wants to, I don't know, take it out of the people.
So that's yeah, seems like his core intention. I mean, as I think it was said before, it's like a punch that hits you in a positive way, strong and intense. And I think this is part of the many facettes that we are on the course to explore. Yeah. So thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Paul. Wavings to the room next door. I think your room is Katharina Schratt. Exactly. Okay. Where my room is called Hedi Lamar. So every room, and I think we moved from Hedi Lamar now to Berta Zuckerkandel, if that is correct, if that is not too much imposing. Let's see, Lena and Mara, can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice. We're back in the Berta Zuckerkandel corridor, on top of the roof, basically. And it's a short question from my side. It seems that you brought us maybe a second piece or maybe an idea of a piece. And if there is something that you could perform together, what would that be? Or what can we expect from Berta Zuckerkandel's room?
We chose another duo, which is by Johann Georg Albrechtsberger. And he was one of Beethoven's teachers here in Vienna. And Beethoven actually came and was hoping to study with Haydn, but he didn't feel that Haydn was taking him seriously, and Haydn wasn't paying attention to his work or correcting it. So they didn't get along. And then Haydn suggested maybe he should go and study a bit with Albrechtsberger. And this is a piece from Beethoven's teacher, Albrechtsberger.
Sonata in C. Lovely greetings to you all.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Lena. I have one question, a fine one, because both of you are involved in so many different projects, there's so many musical styles. So I mean, let's say from contemporary to world music in whatever way, even maybe I think there's certain excursions to pop or whatever. So if you read like music of that time, let's say the late 1800s, 1900s, turn of that century, plus even go further back, and if you read the works of teachers of Beethoven, is compared to 21st century music written or 20th century's composer, in what way do you compare those works? Just a few inspirational snippets. I mean, is it like driving an old timer and or with a different kind of motors, or is it how can we enter your mind or your way of approaching this music?
Well, I think that there are so many similarities. There are more than we think. As we heard at the beginning discussion you had with the curator of the Beethoven exhibition happening now in Vienna, I think he mentioned something along those lines of what we can learn from the past. Also, Martin Haselberg also mentioned that how we can learn from the masters, we can bring it into the present in a modern way. And we see with a lot of composers that they have not completely strayed away from the form, even though it may be in a somewhat unrecognizable or different shape when it comes out to the listener. But there's really something about the so-called basics, of the simplicity of the harmonies and the chords, hearing major and minor. There's something about that is up to this day and will always be absolutely beautiful and a glorious occasion.
I'll just add, I think what's really special about music from that time, and even the Albrechtsberger especially, is that, violas and cellos were just begun to be made around that time. And you can really tell when you're playing this music that the cello and the viola, the strings are swinging, and it's written so beautifully for the instrument, and it really gets all of gets the instrument speaking very beautifully.
It even gets the instrument speaking online.
It
Which
brings
is true.
a lot with this
Right.
type of music.
Yeah, so thank you for preparing for us, for BOZAR, and for here our stream to BOZAR and for BOZAR in the Hotel Beethoven Vienna. Mara Kronig-Achleitner on cello, Lena Fankhauser on viola, on the 6th floor basically in the hotel, and from the 6th floor we go down into the foyer, and there we have another cello. So it's this time it's a piano and cello, and I think we're entering in another sonata. And cello will be played by Michael Babbage, and performance on the piano as we've seen them before, which is the duo who sometimes occasionally actually do perform here. So these are kind of guests to the house, but like guests that you might see on a regular basis. And Pavel Kachnov on the piano, and we hear another special sonata of Beethoven. So from cello on the 6th floor to the cello on the foyer, these are the moves from the Hotel Beethoven Vienna right here. So I'm on. Okay. All right. Mesdames, Messieurs, that was Michael Babic and Pavel Kachno, and another sonata live from the Hotel Beethoven, which has the same title as the exhibition to come that will be opened in actually just a short amount of days in Brussels, in the great and very special Center of Fine Arts in Brussels, BOZAR. And their exhibition is called Hotel Beethoven, a World Theater. And so the idea came into place to kind of link the idea of this exhibition and create a bridge or a dedication from Vienna. And so to open the dedication that we do is this link to the title. So we entered a variety of different rooms here in the Hotel Beethoven, and with a special perspectives on the wide range and facets of the work of Beethoven, basically. So there will be a cut of those of our 90 minutes live stream down to 12 to 15 minutes of different pieces and different views and minds, and that will be our gift and our thank you to BOZAR, basically, and to the exhibition. And so I say thanks again to Jasper Sharp, who came as a curator to give views and also personal insights, emotional insights on his 18 months that he developed a relation to Beethoven. I want to say thanks to Martin Haselberg, a great, renowned, established conductor who has projects all over the world, maybe not this year, even though planned all over the world and all different continents. He couldn't make it. I wanted to say in the pre-produced parts, Marin Alsop, director and conductor of the Baltimore Orchestra, and now here in Vienna of the also renowned Radio Symphony Orchestra of the ORF. And she was here a couple of days ago, and we prepared a few insights on her world and her view and her approach. We had Professor Dr. Michael Musalek, who's a renowned psychiatrist and has also different pattern and also different approach, but also a scientific and emotional approach. So it was beautiful to get in exchange with him. And I say thanks to Lina Fankhauser and Mara Kronig-Achleitner on their occasions, on their views. They have they're fantastic performers in so many different music productions, music performances on the far end of contemporary to the whole facet of the music time. So many centuries of music that they basically touch in their own ways, in their hands. I want to say thanks also to the approach from, let's say, the opera, and also Paul in Berlin. I think who would have been part was planned. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here to be part in the Fidelio production. We had Teresa Dux as soprano. I thank them for the work that they did and to bring us and BOZAR and to Vienna their view and their kind of faceta of the opera and the 200 years of the opera since Leonore or Fidelio. I want to say the guests of the house, Michael Babic and Pavel Kachno, to perform here in the house for us, the sonata and the variations. And so to all the people of the BOZAR, I thank also very much Barbara Ludwig, owner and producer of the place. Basically, they're all different. There's so many different rooms, about almost 50, and every single room has a different name. And I want to say thanks to the whole team here in the house. So we're the great people from all different sides, you know. From the technical side, we have Mike, Michi, Heikel, Teresa, Christina, Jakob, and more in the house, providing, entering different rooms and setting up sceneries and lights, and all for the music, and all as a as a stream and a reach out as bridging from Vienna to Brussels basically and back. Anyway, so it's great to have had the opportunity to stream out of different rooms, and we say hello and good night from Vienna, and we are open into the last final round, and I think this will be one of the most renowned, or I mean, like melodies of Beethoven in song, and called Adelaide, and sung by Paul, played by Pavel. So basically the two Pauls or the two Pavels performing the finale. And yes, so check in to the various perceiving and perceptions of Beethoven and or any other composer. It's just an invitation to get in touch with music and get in touch with a great, also a compendium of music, the wide range of music that BOZAR is offering, and the variety of other positions they bring in. So this is saying thank you and hello from Vienna to Brussels and BOZAR. And here we go. Thank you. Buenas noches. Bonne nuit.
Einsam wandelt ein Freund im Frühlingsgarten, hielt vom lieblichen Zauber nicht umflossen, was durch wankende Blütenzweige zittert. Adelaide, in der Spiegelflut, im Schnee der Alpen, in des sinkenden Tages Wolken, im wilden Sterne strahlt sein Bildnis, Adelaide. In des sinkenden Tages Wolken, in der wilden Sterne strahlt dein Bildnis, Abendlüftchen im zarten Laubenflüstern, Silberglöckchen des Mais im Grase säuseln, Wellen rauschen und Nachtigallen flöten. Wellen rauschen und Nachtigallen flöten. Abendlüftchen im zarten Laubenflüstern, Silberglöckchen des Mais im Grase säuseln, Wellen rauschen und Nachtigallen flöten, und Nachtigallen flöten. Adelaide, Adelaide. O Wunder blüht auf meinem Grabe, o Wunder blüht auf meinem Grabe, eine Blume der Asche meines Herzens, die Asche meines Herzens, ein so Wunder, entblüht, ach entblüht auf meinem Grab. Eine Blume der Asche meines Herzens, der Asche meines Herzens, deutlich schimmert auf jedem Purpurblättchen, auf jedem Purpurblättchen. Adelaide, Adelaide, deutlich schimmert auf jedem Purpurblättchen, auf jedem Purpurblättchen.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Pavel. I think this is a nice. Thank you, Barbara, hosting the flow. And buenas noches. What did we?
Gute Nacht. Gute Nacht. Gute Nacht.
I find it quite appropriate, really, that this 2020, I thought as a musician that 2020 would be distinguished by being this Beethoven anniversary year. I mean, little did any of us know that, COVID would overtake and other issues too. I mean, huge social issues.